Hi everyone, Kelt here, bringing you my thoughts on the latest goings-on with the British royal family, and today I'll be talking about Harry and Meghan apparently trying to hitch a lift on Airforce One. It's quite a hilarious thought, but I don't believe it happened in the way that we are being told. Apparently they wanted a ride back to the United States on Airforce One after the Queen's funeral, but the request was denied by the White House, and it was because they feared that it could cause a commotion. This was September 2022, and it was apparently in the days leading up to the funeral on the 19th that Harry and Meghan's staff allegedly reached out to the White House to ask if they could get a ride back on Airforce One. Obviously, it would have been done purely for the photo op. Most people are aware of that, but that would be the only reason they would want to do this, and so that they also wouldn't have to travel with the general riffraff on a commercial flight. So the story goes that it was immediate refusal from the White House with zero discussion, and was a non-starter. When this sort of thing is said involving Meghan, I usually think that it never happened in the first place. It was like the invitation she had to Balmoral, and especially the birthday cake that the Queen had her chefs made for Meghan, especially for her. This was in the early days. And these things didn't materialise because Meghan never went. She usually found a good reason not to go. So it's a similar story, another made-up, elaborate joke, I think. All part of the circus. It would have been very bold and quite rude of them to make this request, and I wouldn't put it past them, but I don't believe it was even made. I believe that this was Meghan coming up with the bright idea and not getting anywhere with it because her aides would not take it any further. But as usual, she will put it out there that they made the request because it would look good in the headlines. It would also make it look bad that she was refused, so maybe in her warped mind, it would help her with her dream of putting herself in the White House. Things about it didn't make sense. Also, why did it take a whole year, almost, for this news to get out? One thing that didn't make sense was that because the Bidens were attending the Queen's funeral service at Westminster Abbey, they left London shortly after 2:30 p.m. So Harry and Meghan were attending the 4 p.m. committal service at St George's Chapel. And then there was the private burial. So Harry had said that he and Meghan were leaving for the States on Tuesday afternoon because they were not wanting to be away too long from the children, as he had said it was the longest that he'd ever been away from them. So they were taking a British Airways flight from London to LA. So bearing that in mind, they would have been hours too late to hitch a ride with Airforce One anyway. And then, if they went back with them, the Bidens would have been landing in Washington, D.C., and Harry and Meghan would have to then get another plane back to California. It doesn't make sense unless they really thought that the image of them climbing aboard Airforce One and waving at the public was too good to miss, despite the chaos and disruption and various planes they would have to catch back just to achieve this. Again, nearly 12 months for this to come out. If it was true, it would have been mentioned long before now. I believe this is just another idea to add to the crazy circus, and again, keeping those two in the headlines as usual. You'll find that these type of stories of theirs take many months to pull out, or even years. They're usually false, just a product of a certain person's imagination, and many people believe it. Yes, I think that Meghan would have been insane enough to ask for this, but I don't think it would have been taken any further. I think she might have even been told that the White House were asked but refused just to placate her. Another thing, I think, that this has been put out to prove another Meghan point. For example, that the refusal could be blamed on Harry and not her. That it was because they didn't want to cause problems with King Charles and any conflict between Charles and the US. So a sort of conflict of interest. So Meghan can say that it was Harry's fault being a British royal. I also think none of it happened. It's just a story to keep things focused on them rather than more serious things which are going on. And as far as the lemon story goes, Meghan apparently gives Jill Biden a basket of lemons as a nod to her, apparently wearing a lemon dress as a nod to Meghan. So, a nod to each other, another load of made-up fluff to keep eyes off the real news. So do you believe that they actually got to the point of asking for this lift, or do you believe, as I do, that it's completely made up? Let me have your thoughts. I always appreciate them. And I'll see you in the next one. Much love. Bye.